We are Tabona, the beach people.
Thousands of years ago,
Our ancestors chose
as their home a sacred river on the western side
of what is known today as Cook Inlet.
for countless generations. Our people and their children have been nurtured
by this river, the ocean, and the lands we call home.
Sweet River is a source of life for our people. It feeds our body and our soul. It's a spiritual thing that the river has to be respected and protected for future generations of the Tabonas.
Long before there was an Anchorage or a Wasilla, this was the center of trade for the North American and Asian tribes of the North Pacific Rim. It was with the arrival of the first Europeans in the 18th century, the village became known as Tyonek. It's a word that means little leader, a word borrowed by the first Russian fur traders.
In the 1890s, the Great Alaska Gold Rush brought thousands of prospectors to the Tyonek area in search of their fortune. With them came influenza and other diseases that wiped out many villages in their entirety. Many survivors found themselves welcomed in a new home in the village of the beach people.
Tyonek was the center of activity in Cook Inlet at the end of the 19th century. A lot of people don't know that, but we've been involved in international trade and business for generations.
In 1915, President Woodrow Wilson provided the tribe federal protected status, creating the Tyonek Indian Reservation. The decades that followed brought a new kind of prospector in search of untold riches in oil and gas. In the 1960s, the BIA attempted to lease Tyonek land without permission. Under the leadership of Albert Kaloa Jr., Tyonek elders took on the most powerful nation in the world in court and won. In a landmark decision, the courts ruled that Tyonek alone had the authority to lease its lands. With nearly $13 million of oil company leases, Tyonek was reborn, building modern homes, a new school, Alaska's first gas turbine power plant, an airport, and a new tribal center. Tyonek elders formed a for-profit corporation that invested in construction and commercial real estate, building the first modern Class A office buildings in Anchorage. And in 1968, Tyonek shared its newfound wealth, helping finance the formation and first gathering of the Alaska Federation of Natives.
Without that, there was no title, no safeguards for our people. Because of Tyonek's involvement, that came about. My thoughts and the village council was to protect our land and our children's rights. Our elders always told us that the land was our salvation, and we had to protect that, and we always have that in mind when we legislate anything.
Today, Tyonek is once again poised with the opportunity to work with their fellow Alaskans, this time bringing forward sustainable energy projects to power Alaska's future. 3 major energy projects are within 37 miles of Tyonek. The Lake Chakachamna Hydroelectric Project, rated at 300 megawatts. The Mount Spur Geothermal Project, which will generate 50 to 175 megawatts. And the Beluga Coal to Gas to Liquids Project, producing up to 400 megawatts of power. These 3 projects can help resolve the electric generation crisis facing all residents of South Central Alaska, while helping to conserve the remaining natural gas supplies for heating homes and businesses. TDX Power's proposed Chakachamna Hydro Project would draw water from a lake tap below the eastern shore of Lake Chakachamna. The water would flow through an underground tunnel stretching 10 miles to the power plant, where underground turbines will generate 300 megawatts of power using low-cost renewable energy. The electricity will feed directly into existing transmission lines at the nearby Beluga Power Plant, nearly doubling its current output. The nearly $2 billion project is currently in the federal licensing phase, and if approved, could be online in 8 years.